Number 9, reading the news. Keeping up with current events used to be a high stakes gamble. In the 1600s, many European kings believed that knowing too much about the government was a recipe for disaster. They didn't want you informed, they wanted you quiet. If you were caught reading an unlicensed newspaper or a pamphlet that criticized the crown, you weren't just a rebel, you were a traitor. The punishment for sedition was often public execution. King Louis XIV of France actually banned the printing of anything without his direct approval. People would hide forbidden newsletters in their boots or sew them into the linings of their coats. If the secret police found a scrap of political gossip on you, you'd be sent to the galleys or the gallows before the next edition even came out. And it's actually still playing out in modern society today in just another evolved variation of it, where the whistleblowers seemingly either disappear or quote unquote suicide. Number 8, wearing cotton. During the 1700s in England, your favorite t shirt would have been an act of war. The British government was so protective of their local wool industry that they made it illegal to wear or sell printed cotton from India. They called it the Calico Acts. They didn't want the competition. If you were caught wearing cotton fabric in London, you could be fined on the spot. And in some cases, angry wool workers would literally tear the cotton clothes off people in the street. If you were caught smuggling the fabric, you could be deported to a penal colony or sentenced to death. Imagine being executed because your outfit was too soft and breathable. Number 7, taking a bath. During the Middle Ages, doctors and religious leaders believed that bathing was the source of many problems. And after the plague, also known as the Black Death, one of human history's deadliest pandemic that killed approximately one third of Europe's population, they thought that hot water opened your pores and let the miasma or corruption enter inside your body. They believed that a layer of dirt was a protective shield and that bathing would weaken it. If you were caught bathing too often, people thought you were trying to wash away your soul or practicing strange rituals. And people who were clean were often viewed as suspicious or even insane. By the 16th century, several regions outlawed public bath. And it wasn't until the 19th century when they reformed. So, for almost 300 years, cleanliness was ironically seen as a way to prevent diseases. Number 6, predicting the future. We check the weather app or read horoscopes for fun. But in the Roman Empire, predicting the future was a capital offense. Emperors were incredibly paranoid. They were terrified that a fortune teller would predict their death, which might inspire a rebellion. If you were caught practicing any form of divination or consulting the stars about the emperor's health, you are committing treason. The punishment was usually crucifixion, thrown off a cliff, or being thrown into a pit of wild animals. They didn't care if you were right or wrong. They just didn't want anyone else knowing what was coming next. Knowledge of the future was a luxury reserved strictly for the person on the throne. Number 5, eating white bread. In many ancient cultures, the color of your bread told the world exactly where you stood in the social hierarchy. White bread was the ultimate status symbol because it required massive amounts of labor to refine the flour. It was the wealthy man's fuel. If you were a peasant and you were caught eating white bread, it was considered a form of social fraud. You were essentially impersonating a nobleman. In some medieval cities, bakers who adulterated their bread or sold the wrong type to the wrong people were punished severely. They'd be tied to a wooden plank and dragged through the mud while people pelted them with stones. Imagine eating a grilled cheese and people are throwing rocks at you. Number 4, having a secret Bible. Before the 1500s, owning a Bible in your own language was a death sentence. The church insisted that the Bible only be read in Latin. Since most people couldn't speak Latin, they had to rely on whatever the priest told them. When William Tyndale decided to translate the Bible into English so everyone could read it, he became the most wanted man in Europe. He had to flee from city to city, printing books in secret. He was eventually caught and brutally executed. They strangled him and then burned his body at the stake. All of this happened because he thought people should be able to read a book. Number 3, living with a cat. If you're a cat person, you'd be in serious trouble in the 13th century. Pope Gregory IX once issued a document that basically claimed that cats carried the spirit of Satan and were instruments of the devil. This led to a massive wave of cat killings across Europe. People believed that if you lived with a cat, you were likely a witch, using the animal as a familiar to communicate with demons. The irony is that by killing all the cats, they allowed the rat population to explode. That helped the Black Death spread faster and killed off half the population. Number 2, gambling. In Puritan New England, your schedule for fun and entertainment was strictly regulated by law. It was essentially illegal and a way for social control. If you were caught playing cards or throwing dice, authorities can punish you with fines and whippings. They believed that gambling was a direct dishonor to God and a gateway for worst sins. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the idleness. And no matter how hard they tried to prevent gambling, it was inherently part of human nature for risk taking, escapism, and the dopamine. Clearly, it has thrived throughout time, with the global market estimated to reach $655 billion in 2026. Number 1, drinking coffee and foreign tea. In the 1700s, tea was the center of a global trade war. In Sweden, King Gustav III was convinced that tea and coffee was poison. He wanted to prove it so badly that he conducted one of the first clinical trials in history. He took 2 twins who were sentenced to death. He commuted their sentence to life in prison on one condition. One had to drink 3 pots of tea every day, and the other had to drink 3 pots of coffee. He waited for them to die to prove his point. Ironically, both twins outlived the king and the doctors assigned to watch them. But before that experiment, the state could and would seize your property or fine you for illegal consumption of foreign leaves. And it's funny to think that today Sweden has one of the highest consumptions for tea and coffee. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.